again, I am way out there, so sometimes my connection is not so great. Maybe I'll drop some of this so it's not so bright. Um, I wanted to talk today about the idea of really changing life. Why not? Of course we can do it. You can do it all the time. One of the things that I did a few years ago was called the Dream Map Project. And if you're interested in it, you can go on my website, it's kimberrystudio.com. And one of the interactive installations that I did was called the Dream Map Project. I started doing it in 2010, and the idea was giving people the voice and the power to be able to, through art, really own what they wanted in life, what their deepest heart's desire was in life. Write it down on a little dream cloud and put it on a map that I had made out of paper money. Because so many times we focus all of our energy, our fears, our wants, our goals, everything based on money, and not necessarily through our heart space or our conscience, or what we really truly want to have happen. Entrepreneurs know you don't ever chase the dollar first. You chase your dreams first. The money will eventually come if you're making something that's actually going to benefit humanity. Tesla didn't have such a great time at it, and I'm probably going to go on that same route because it's just one of those things. But for people that are really good at balancing money and their dreams, it's very possible. And you can make a really beautiful life. Oh, my hair, good Lord. You can create a life based on your dream more than just chasing the dollar. At least that's what I really believed in 2010. I did believe that, and I still do believe that, but I find that at this point in the game in 2018, we can't necessarily focus our end game being on money because of what we've realized money is attuned to, where it comes from. You know, if the paper fiat money is always attuned to the Rothschilds and this negativity and pain and all this awful, human trafficking, sex trafficking, child trafficking, all this stuff, then we need to go beyond that and know that if we are able to live our dreams and still be okay, we're so unbelievably successful. Doesn't matter what's in your bank account. If you're able to think of something, and it's a really good thought, and you make it happen in the world, you're not poor. You're rich. We got to change the definitions of what poor and rich are. We really do. Because if you're able to eat every day, and maybe sometimes it's fasting, maybe you don't eat every single day, maybe you fast, and that's actually a really healthy thing too. But you're living out what you truly believe is in your conscience to live, and you've got other resources that pop up. May not necessarily always be money, but it's resources that keep you going. You're rich. You're rich. And you just keep trusting that. In 2010, when I started doing the Dream Map Project, it started in Jacksonville. And Jacksonville was a very blue-collar southern town. And I would read what people would write about what they want in life. And in Jacksonville, most people were so surprised that there was a platform for them to even ask that question in the first place, because they were always thinking of what they had to do for other people, which is a beautiful thing. I mean, that's a very powerful thing to do, is to always be thinking of other people. But when we're in a society that is a trickle-down culture, where the really psychopaths set the tone for culture, and it trickles down into every single facet of every village, of every town, through television, through whatever, and they tell us this is what we need to do, sometimes our dreams can get corrupted. And so in Jacksonville, a lot of the dreams, I've held on to every single dream. A lot of the dreams were, you know, I want to be able to provide for my children, and I want to be able to be happy. I want to be able to have the freedom to enjoy life and enjoy the little things. I don't want to be working all the time for $10 an hour and still not be able to make ends meet. And this was in 2010. People are still living off of $10 an hour in 2018, and the economy has jumped up so high that now it's even harder to live in that situation. When I went out to Los Angeles and I put up the dream map, it was interesting because I was friends with very abundant people, and then I put the dream map out on Sunset in Echo Park, which also has a lot of very poor, I shouldn't say the word poor, but people that came to the country for money and wanted to succeed, and they were doing odd jobs for very, very little. And so their dreams were very basic, like, I want my child to have a good education. And then it would be juxtaposed with someone who has a trust fund that says, you know, I want to be a unicorn. Okay? So it was very strange. Then, when I went to Pittsburgh and I put up the dream map, there was a whole other conversation. And this is totally in line with Pittsburgh mentality. It's not about you. You're not allowed to be an individual. It's about the family. And it's about what the family expects from you. And you're not allowed to be happy, but you're going to project whatever pain or sacrifice that you need to do in life. You just want your kids to be happy in the future. But you never take a moment to look at what is going on in that town, what's going on in that culture, what's going on in that economy that's making it inherently impossible to enjoy life in the first place. It sucks the milkshake out of everybody. And you doing everything you can to sacrifice for your children, but your children are watching what you do in this culture, they're going to mimic it. They're going to mimic it. So no, your kids are not going to be happy because they're going to feel guilty. And they're going to do the same thing that you're doing to feed into this cannibalistic society, thinking that they're trying to help everybody in their life, and it's not, and it drains them, and it drains everybody around them. I stopped doing the dream map because the dreams were getting gnarly. When you know what is really messing with society, which I unfortunately know, then you decide, okay, it's not good enough to just set a tone for a dream map and let people just put these dreams out there that are actually curses on themselves. They don't even realize it's a curse on themselves to say these things. They think it's a dream. You stop it and you start to, behind closed doors, help change culture and stop the economies that feed pain and feed this force of nature that makes people feel so attuned to money in the first place, so that maybe people can start dreaming bigger dreams than they are. Because the dreams were getting really small. They were getting really sad. They were getting really sad. They were getting very desperate. Dreams are not supposed to be desperate. Your imagination is not supposed to be out of fear. That's called worry, actually. When you worry, that's inverted imagination. When you're using your imagination, it is imagining the most amazing possibility and believing it's possible, and then walking those steps into making it happen. And depending on the dream, how big it is, sometimes those steps can be really difficult, but you keep walking them and amazing things will happen. Case in point, you can't talk the talk unless you walk the walk. Okay. And I didn't know what kind of walk I was going to have to walk in order to talk the talk about the dream map back in 2010. But dang, the universe loves to tell you, all right, you're going to talk that talk? Girl, you're going to walk that walk. And I'll tell you. I didn't believe. I was not down with the bank system. Since 2006, I got rid of all of it. And I thought, well, if I'm going to talk the talk, I got to walk the walk. And I learned to not use banks. I learned how to grow my own food. I learned not to buy a ton of clothes, all these different things that were feeding this system. And you get judged. You get criticized. You know, people don't understand because so many people are tuned to saying, well, that's what success is. But they don't even understand the real game of what now is coming full force into knowing what's really going on. In 2010, I still wanted to believe in the art world, as now we've known that it's been exposed for a whole bunch of really bad stuff. I still wanted to believe that through art, you could change a lot of things. So when I went to Los Angeles, I had let go of a lot of like banking things, a lot of fancy corporate stuff, having lots of cars, all that stuff. Like, not going to do it. I'm not into it. Like, I'm going to give myself a chance to live out my dream, which my dream was to express the heart through art and changing culture, to let people know that they're freer than working for $1. Because I've watched so many people do so many bad things for simply $1. And we're better than that. We're better than that. In LA, when I found out what you had to become a famous artist, especially if you're a girl, it's not so nice behind closed doors. We all know that now. And I still fought it and did my own thing with West 11 and did some really nice things, and that was great. But you keep learning how to disengage from BS. And you learn that, wow, I don't need that. I don't need to be involved in this. I don't need to be involved. No consent. No consent. It's that simple. So if you really want to change the world, the worst thing you can do is to say, well, everyone else is doing it, so I have to do it too. You've lost your power completely when you do that. And you cannot ever complain about how jacked up the world is when you think like that. Because I'm here to tell you, the backlash that you get when you, well, in 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when you said no, whew, I mean, I had banks coming after me. I had the credit cards like deleting my credit history to make me look like a complete loser, so that my credibility in what I was talking about or what I was doing would be decimated. There's all kinds of levels of things that happen when you finally take a stand in a really gnarly, heavy situation of culture that is feeding something so toxic. You'll get backlash, yeah, for sure. But it's worth it because now there are so many more people that are waking up to realizing their own power and their own choice in where they want to place their energy and where they don't. And they are seeing more and more every single day the freedom to go, I cannot do that. I don't have to do that. If you don't like your job, quit. Do you know if everybody stopped working for Bank of America, it would crumble? Do you know that if everyone stopped going to the Catholic Church, because it's not Christian, if you want to be in a cult and you want to practice Santeria, or you want to practice Satanism, or you want to practice whatever, keep going to Catholic Church. If you're a Christian, quit. And you watch how the cards crumble. Just quit. They'll crumble. Everything is built up based on individual energy that gets mass connected into group think to think that that's what we all need to get involved with in order to be accepted in culture. But it's all a death cult. If you're sick and tired of Hollywood, which I hope all of you are, because they're liars. They're paid liars. They're paid liars. They don't tell the truth. Come on now. Stop spending money on Netflix. Stop tuning into the Grammys. Stop tuning into the Academy Awards. Stop going and watching their movies. If you do that, they're done. They're done. Do you know how powerful that is? Go and hang out with a neighbor and have a great time in your own neighborhood. Create an amazing space of events in your own community where people know you and they feel good when they hang out and you do great things. That's power. If you don't like Donald Trump, if you don't like Hillary Clinton, tune out. Don't give them any attention at all. If you know, don't go into the laws that are lower vibrational laws that keep everybody down. Go for the higher laws of love, kindness, compassion. Your world will open up. I've walked this walk. I've gone through some fire with this. But I've walked this walk and I've seen it, and it's possible. You can change the world by simply changing your mind into what's possible and what's not possible. The unfortunate thing with most people is that as soon as they get this epiphany of an amazing idea of what could possibly bring them so much life and so much abundance and so much, like, literally mental, spiritual, physical rejuvenation, as soon as they get that epiphany, they doubt it. And then they go, it can't possibly be true. I just have to keep going doing this thing. And it's a lie. It's a lie. Listen to that epiphany. I want to tell you a story about the dream map. So, if you haven't ever heard of the dream map before, I suggest, again, you go onto kimberrystudio.com, and where it talks about work, you know, there's different pages of things that I've done. Click on work, and then there's interactive installations. And when you see the click on for interactive installations, there'll be various things, but there's one page that talks about the dream map. click on it and you can learn more about it. Well, great story beyond myself with the dream map. I'll walk you through it. The dream map is usually 22 feet wide, and it's about maybe 10 feet high. And it's a, it's like a, I take little pieces of play money that you get to teach children how to do commerce, you know, and it's all wheat pasted into the United States. So the United States is all made out of dollar bills because we're a corporation. Everyone that comes here, they're not here to be human, they're here to make money. Okay? Well, you're confronted with this huge map of money in the shape of the United States. You walk up to this little table and there's directions. And the directions say, okay, forget money. What is it in your heart, in your conscience, that you want to have in your life? Forget money. What does your heart tell you? What were you born to do that everyone has squashed so that you can fit the conversation of making everybody else happy or make yourself financially successful or whatever? Forget all that. And they're like these little thought clouds, like the little Charlie Brown thought cloud. And I have little pens. You write it down. You know how important it is to write something down? It's that if you write something down, you're 50% more. There's a 50% more possibility that you'll actually do it. There's something about writing it down. It's like your to-do list, you know? So you write it down, and then you put it on top. You get a little piece of tape, and you put it on top of the money. You put it on top of the map, anywhere you want on the map. Now imagine that. You get 1 dream, 2 dreams, 3 dreams. Next thing you know, you can't see any of the U.S. money anymore. All you see are individuals' dreams, all creating the U.S. And you're hearing their most intimate thoughts. It's so empowering. It's so empowering. It's humbling. And some people take it as a joke. They'll write silly things, but if it's done right and people really take it seriously, it's a beautiful thing to look at and to read. And it's so empowering because you know what also it does? It transmutes the control that money has over people into their thoughts are more important than the money. It is so empowering. And if you don't believe me, and if you don't believe, you think this is voodoo or this is some sort of weird experiment, I can't tell you how many people have contacted me over the years and said, Kim, I couldn't believe this happened. I wrote this thing down on the dream map and it happened. There was a woman in Pittsburgh who had come to one of my events. It was probably like the Sammy Miller show. If you guys haven't heard of Sammy Miller and Congregation, they're an amazing jazz band out of New York City. And they're just full of joy and love. And they've played at my space like probably 3 times. Just love them to death. And she was there for one of those nights and the dream map was up. She was going through a really bad divorce. And she was homeless at the time. She was staying with friends. She had 3 small children and she just wanted a safe place for her kids. And at the time, everything was chaos. So she wrote down on the dream map, she made a picture of what she wanted. So she drew this like very basic house and she had a heart on the front door of the house, and she had her 3 kids walking up to the house. And a year and a half later, I run into her at the Abbey. It's a bar in Pittsburgh and Lawrenceville. And she's like, Kim, Kim, Kim. And honestly, like, I met so many people through the events. I didn't immediately recognize her. But she's like, Kim, 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 I gotta tell you something. And I was like, oh, great. You know, I like, okay, you know, and then it clicked with me. I remembered. And she said, you know, the dream that I wrote on the dream map the other day, I had just closed on this house. And we had gone grocery shopping. And I let the kids out of the car, and they're walking on a little path towards the house from the driveway. And I'm picking up the groceries. I turn around and I look, and it's exactly the picture that I drew on that dream cloud. She made it happen. If you want to dismiss that, then you've lost your power. Because that is the power of our minds. At the end of the day, what these entities that you get irritated by, the powers that be, people that you think are better than you, that make a whole bunch of money, that have generationally been the owners of most of society, I gotta tell you something. They know this. They don't want you to know this. I am sharing it with you. I am sharing it with you. I am trying to give you nuggets. I'm trying to give you nuggets. Whatever you believe in your mind you will become, whether it's negative or positive. If you believe yourself to be a certain number and you're supposed to be dead or ugly or old or fat or impoverished or wealthy, whatever your mind believes you to be, or whatever you believe you're possible in doing or not possible in doing, it will happen. Why do you think the television is so important for these entities? Because they're going to feed you their truth over your own conscience. That feeds them. And so we're all working for them. For nothing. And you get energy vampirized. You get poor. You get used up. Can we say no more? I'd like to say no more to that. And I'd like to share that with all of you. No more. You can change the world by changing your mind and understanding your own power and having an imagination and doing amazing things. Just by believing it in the first place. Writing it down and then walking the walk and believing it. It's not going to be easy sometimes, and especially, and some of you all are not going to like hearing this, but ultimately, if you don't have Christ in your life, it's not going to work. Because the energies, I don't care what you think, I know them. They believe in Luciferianism. They believe in Saturnianism. That's what these highest third dimension people believe in. That's why they win. If they can take you away from Christ's higher power in knowing real freedom, knowing real power, you're owned. That's why the Catholic Church does what it does. Catholic Church is completely screwed. It is not what you think it is. And they've got billions of people that are poor in mind, spirit, and body. And they want to keep it that way. Luciferianism is very real. It's very, very real. Death cults are very, very real. Come on now. They want to sit there and pretend like it's funny. It's a joke. And then by getting involved in it, you become your own God. It's bullshit. When you get connected, and I'm not talking about going to church, I'm talking about just getting in, like literally going, you know what? I want to be humble enough to connect with the highest God, and, you know, Lord, bring your Holy Spirit into me. Why not? Just try it. Just try it. Boom. You're going to see amazing things. It's going to be a struggle, especially depending on if you're involved in some really gnarly stuff, because the enemy has a stronghold on you. Ooh, it could get ugly. It got ugly for me for a little bit. But you change your mind, and then you see the power, and you start being able to change the world. Look at what's happening now. There is so much that's come out that I never thought was going to come out as fully as it has. It's amazing. We can change the world. We really can. We can make it a beautiful place. Do you think the powers that be that are behind Monsanto, that are behind Nestle's, that are behind... I can go on and on about the corporations that literally want to create death. Do you really think that they have your best interest at heart? The sickness maintenance culture. Okay. No one wants to hear me talk about how to keep yourself healthy. Do you know how old I am? But I'm not old. There's a reason. But no one wants to hear it. But they'll go to UPMC and they'll hear some freaking gremlin nurse tell them what's good for them, and the person's a psycho and looks like shit, and they'll like pop every single pill in the world at top dollar, and the people are still sick, and then they it's like gambling. You know, when people gamble, they can't, like, they're so bought into this gambling idea that no matter how much money they put into it and the fruit is still shit, they will still keep putting their money into it because they can't be wrong. How about be wrong for a minute and wake up and maybe take a minute to look at the people that are talking about real health? They actually look healthy. They actually are healthy. And then look at the people that are trying to sell you at top dollar death and call it health, and they look like gargoyles, they look like gremlins, and you feel like crap, and you're in poverty for spending tons of money on UPMC or the Mayo Clinic or whatever the mainstream, you know, sickness maintenance corporation is trying to tell you to get involved with. They look like gremlins. Why? Because they are gremlins. Because what people think on the inside turns eventually into what they look like on the outside. Hello. But you can change it all. And you can change the world. And you can change yourself by simply changing your mind. And then changing your walk. Changing your talk. Changing your habits. Changing what food you put in your body. Making it live food. Live food creates life. What is live food? Food that's still living. Raw vegetables. Raw fruit. Real, live, raw, good food. Dead meat, death. Food in a box, it's dead food. It's like a chemical compound. It's not even real. Where do you think that's going to go? That's going to go in your midsection. It's going to sit there and you're going to end up having a massive midsection. What the heck are you feeding in there? Yeast, fungus, mold, and parasites. Death. What lives in the dark? What thrives in the dark? Yeast, fungus, mold, and parasites. What lives in the light? Life. What are you going to feed your body? What are you going to feed your mind? What are you going to feed your spirit? Change your mind. It's a lot, but it's true. Most major cities are toxic. Chicago, Pittsburgh, New York, Atlanta, Los Angeles, Seattle. Most major cities are major toxic vortexes. They've got bad air. They've got bad water. They've got bad food. They have people thinking bad thoughts. They have people in poverty, earning the very least and working the most. And they're little like worker bees. And they think the worst of each other. They're angry. They're miserable. Why? Because there's power in pain. There's power in that. If you check out of that, and you realize that there's a huge conversation that's so much bigger than that, where there's real food that actually feeds happy thoughts, that feeds your body into being beautiful and strong and positive. You're able to see things in a certain way. There's no fluoride that you put in your body through the bad water. Everything changes. And you can change the world by changing your mind, by changing your thoughts, by changing your habits, and saying no consent to that sort of thing. It's possible. It's possible. I watch it every day. I see it every day. I try every day to get out there on a very human level and connect with people and just find an opportunity to encourage, especially if I see someone that's in pain or someone who's suffering. And sometimes people hold on to their pain, like they hold on to it like a flag of pride, you know, or their suffering is I've got this problem and I need to hold on to that because it makes me feel powerful in this pain. Really? Let it go, because you've got so much more going on that we need you on a higher level to make some really great things happen in the world. Is this too heavy? Is this too much? Maybe. But I'm going to say it anyway. Because apparently, ultimately, that's my conversation in this life. Is to inspire that. Break out of it. The group think is really dangerous. It's really dangerous. If you look at television through their advertising and who their sponsors have been, it's been like Kraft Foods and DuPont and Dow Jones and Nestle's and all these different corporations that always push death. That's what they want. I mean, you want to sit there and talk about social justice warriors, those are the fucking Nazis. Go fight those corporations. And they're the ones that fund all the different social justice warriors that are going on right now. What a twist that is. What a twist that is. Last note before I peace out of this. Pittsburgh's been lied to. And I say Pittsburgh specifically because that's where I grew up. That's where I've been most recently for different personal reasons. And I gave up on that conversation because people have to decide on their own of what they want to do, and I'm not going to stay there if people don't get it. Pittsburgh's been lied to. You guys are your milkshake's being sucked so hard, and because you're in it so hard, you don't even look up to see what's going on. And I say this completely out of love. Do something more than the money, because the conversations that are there are so gnarly. So gnarly. It's like, just go travel. Let's go get out of Pittsburgh and travel around and see for yourself what it's really like, because you've been lied to. Pittsburgh's a vortex of all the most gnarly things that you could think of that suck the energy out of people, and they give them bread and circus all the time. Focus on the Steelers, focus on the Penguins, take as many taxes out of your paycheck as possible, push this idea of helping for the public's sake things, and it actually really does nothing but help the worst situations that you could possibly imagine. Like, get out of there, and go live life. Go experience what it's like to live in other places and meet other people and know what it's like to be in other places. I'm just going to say that personally, because that place is a cesspool. And it's going to go down. We're working on that. Not that I want to see Pittsburgh not do well. It's just, it needs to do well on a good level. And it's not. They market it as good. They're good at marketing it as good, but it's not. The money's gonna go down. So go experience life in other places, and then maybe see what we're talking about. And I hope that your dreams get stronger and believe in them, because we need the best imaginations from everybody right now. I mean, we're at a precipice where the world's crumbling in a lot of different ways. A lot of different economies are crumbling. Human trafficking is going down. Sex trafficking is going down. Child trafficking is going down. Those were the 5 big economies. Drug trafficking. All that's going down. So what are we going to create? What are going to be some good, amazing economies for us as people? We got to use our best imagination. So think about it and write it down and believe it and walk it. And if something tells you that it's not possible, I'm going to end this story. I'm going to end this story with this. 2009, I came to visit my mom in Pittsburgh, and I wanted to take her out to the Elbow Room because that was my good friend's restaurant. I love them there. And I wanted to take her out for dinner. So we park at this old parking lot that I had always known to be free. Apparently, since I had been gone, it got turned into some sort of private, thing. And as we're leaving dinner, it was like February 11th, it was really cold out, my mom was older. They were literally towing my car as I walked out, and this stranger even paid for the car to get released, and the guy still, the tow truck driver still was like, no, even though you've given me this money, I still gotta take it to the pound, and you can pick up in the morning. And I was like crying, I was all upset. I'm like, how am I gonna get my mom home? How am I gonna get my car in the morning? This is all I've got. I don't know what to do. And luckily enough, he had enough heart to go, I'll drive you home. I'll drive you home, and then I'll pick you up tomorrow. I'm very persuasive. I don't take no for an answer. He says, I'll pick you up in the morning and you can come get your car. I was like, okay. I will see you in the morning. So he drops off my mom and me at my house, comes to pick me up in the morning, and we have this really great ride back to get my car. So I asked him some questions about his life. And I said, why do you do what you do? Does it make you feel good? And he goes, no, actually, most of the time I hate my job because it's so negative. I mean, I felt really bad making you feel like crap and, making it a difficult situation for you and your mom, but this is money. I mean, this is how I make my money. And my cousin is the one that runs the show, so I can't let them down, but this is ultimately a crappy situation. I said, well, okay, fine. Don't you think that you might make more money by actually helping people rather than punishing people? And he said, what do you mean by that? And I said, well, so right now you're focusing on making a whole bunch of money based on towing people when they're supposedly in the wrong place, right? And he goes, yeah. I said, okay. What if you were the company that helped people when they were in a situation where they were stuck on the side of the road, or they knew they could count on you to help them when their car broke down, or that sort of thing? And he goes, wow, I never thought about that before. And I said, well, give it a shot. And he's like, dang, Kim, why do you gotta say this kind of stuff? Because now I'm feeling guilty and I'm feeling bad and blah, blah, blah. I said, just change your freaking mind, dude. Change your business plan. Change your mind. See what happens. He emailed me a year and a half later. His business tripled. He got out of the conversation of towing people to make money because for a moment to cause pain and make money off pain. He tripled his company revenue by being there for people when they needed help. Think about that. Now, how can we apply that in whatever we have to give in this world?